Hi, hello. In this lab for 160, as part of the database AWS Start reStart, I would be demonstrating about this build your database server and interact with your DB using this app. Okay, using an app. So yes, this is the Vocarum. Uh, so I'll just start the lab before I explain about the objectives of this particular lab. Okay, so this is red and this should come to green. So the objectives of this lab is that after completing this lab, you can launch an Amazon RDS with high availability, that is multi-availability zone. And the second thing is that configure your DB instance to permit connections from your web server. Okay, for that we will allow the security, and of course we will also launch a web application to interact with our database. So for that we are going to use an instance which is already defined. So this is the scenario which is available. So you have this VPC. This is the VPC. Okay, with the 10.0.0.16, we have public subnet and public 2 subnet. Uh, yeah, and public subnet 1 and private subnet 1 is configured, is connected using a NAT gateway. This is again the standard VPC. We are connecting through this internet gateway. Okay, so this is, we have a web server also along with that web server, that is in the public and private subnet. So at the end of the lab, what we are supposed to do is that we need to create an RDS instance, primary and secondary, in the private subnet. That is this particular one, and make sure we can access this from this AWS web server one. Okay, so this is the scenario which we need to create, so that this will be the website and this will be the backend. Okay, so let us go through the steps of how we can start accessing this AWS server. So first of all, this is the task one. In this task one, we will be creating the security group. Okay, so yeah, this is task one. We will create a security group, especially using this lab VPC. And then in the security group, we will add this port 3306. This is task one. In task two, we are going to create a subnet DB subnet, which will be helpful for configuring your RDS database. So same thing, the same procedures we will be doing. And here in the third step, we will be creating this what we call as this MySQL database server. So in this database server, you use this the following values which have been mentioned in the lab itself. Okay, so we are going to use DB T3 micro. T3 micro. Remember, this is chargeable. You have a $10 credit. Okay, so the storage type is also mentioned 20 GB, and ensure your VPC group is lab VPC, and then uncheck this automated backups, and of course monitoring also needs to be. This I'll explain during the creation of your RDS. Once your RDS is available, you can see this created the database. Once the RDS is available, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to get the final database available. You get a endpoint. This is called as the endpoint. And using this endpoint, we will be selecting again, we will be connecting to the database from the front end web server. Okay, so let us go through how we can access this particular this web server, right? So now this is green. Let me access this AWS console. When I click this AWS console, it goes to the new menu, I mean a new tab. Okay, so this is the default one which is there. I'll also duplicate, which I can show you something thing which is there. In services, let me show you. First thing is this EC2. I'll just explain. We have a web server also. See this one? There is a web server one which has both this public subnet as well as your private subnet. Okay, so yeah, you can see here this is the public. This is in 2B. Okay, this is in 2B, which is there. Right. So this is what is your web server, which is in 2. This is the public and private, right? And then we need to first create the task of security group. I'll also show you the security group maybe this one. I'll show you this VPC. You can see the default groups which are there. This is your dashboard. Yep. So you can see the security. Yeah, you can see the subnets which has been already configured. Your private subnet 1 and private subnet 2. You have this public subnet 2 and private subnet 2. These are the 4 subnets as I shown in the diagram. This is the one. Yeah, this is how this is existing one. Please make a note of all the values and IPs, etc., etc. So now first, as per the task, we will create the security group. So go to your subnet, and here just scroll down. You can select the security group. So I'll create a security group. So I'll say the security group name as just say DB security group. Right? In description also you can write maybe permit access from web security group. That's what which is mentioned in your lab also, the same thing. And select your VPC as lab VPC. So delete this one, and you can see this lab VPC. And in inbound rules, what you need to select is this 3306. So we don't have anything, just add a rule. In custom, you can scroll down to MySQL Aurora, that is 3306 port. Okay, and here you can select this SG, that is web service, web security group. Right, you just type SG. You should see this particular group will be allowed. I mean, access can be allowed. Outbound is okay. So once everything is okay, yeah, you can create the security group. So with this, the first task is completed. You can see once you click this security group, yeah, web security group is created. Just make a note. Right. So now let me go to the second task. In second task, we are going to create a DB subnet group. So what I do is this, in here, I go to RDS. So this is done. I go to RDS in this particular one. RDS. Okay. So yeah, you can see there is nothing, no database we are going to create, but before that, we create the subnet group. Create a DB subnet group. So with the following details, like you can say DB subnet group, which is specified in the lab, DB security subnet group, and specify your lab VPC. Okay, and under this add subnets, you see this one. Under add subnets, select this for the first availability zone, tick and tick, and then give your 1 and 3 IPs. Okay, the right. So here I select this the first availability zone. Okay, and again I select the second availability zone, 2A and 2B. Right. And in this, what you can do, I select the first availability zone, that is the subnet, this particular one, and again 10.0, this is the subnet. Yes, so we have selected. So finally, you should see the subnet 1 and 3. These are the availability zones. Again, I show you the diagram. Yeah, this one, private subnets 1 and 3. It should communicate. Okay, so 1 and 3, and say create. Selected 1 and 3 and say create. So this creates your subnet group. Yeah, it is done, successfully created. And now the main important step of creation of your Amazon RDS DB instance. So go to the database and create a database. All right, go to database and create a database. Okay, you can use this what we call as we'll send your feedback. Okay, you can use this standard create or easy create. Easy create will reduce the options. Let me show you the standard create and select this MySQL. We need to do this MySQL and says scroll down. Version is okay. You can use this development and test. Don't use free tag. In multi-agent DB instance, you can select not cluster because we require multi-agent in two availability zones. And in database name, just see this one, we have to provide the database instance identifier as lab-db, right? So I give that lab-db and scroll down. Master username is already given as main, we need to give, and password also lab password. Just remember, this is main. Okay, lab-password, lab-password. Scroll down. You can select this burstable classes, which will show you this t3.micro. If you select this t classes also will be there, right? So under storage, leave it as it is. This is 20 GB. This is minimum which is required for us. Okay. Enable storage auto scaling. Leave as it is. Now connect your VPC, that is your example, this is lab VPC, select that, and subnet, we already created this DB subnet, choose accordingly, choose that, right. And in security group, yeah, scroll down, publicly accessible, no, it's not required, so we want to connect this as a backend, choose existing, so you can select your security group as your DB security group, which we already created this particular one. So I have selected DB security group. Under additional configuration, select this is 3306 port. Okay, scroll down, password authentication, and in additional configuration, you can provide the device database name. So which is already provided here. You can see here. Where is this in additional? The initial database name is lab. Just say lab. This is the database name. And disable this automated backups. Untick that and scroll down. Maybe disable even this enhanced monitoring also. We don't require. Uncheck these two. Scroll down. I think all the options are okay. This enable automator is okay. Maintenance window is also okay. See, there is a price of $29.42. And yeah, you can say create a database. So it will take approximately 4 to 5 minutes of time. So I have selected. So yes, it will create into availability zones. So wait until you get. So once the database is created, you get an endpoint like this. We need to copy this endpoint and use this endpoint in later part of our lab. Right. So here this database is getting created. It is taking. It will take much time. Yes, you can see the status here. Leave this one and go to instance. You see here there is a web server. There is a web server. You see this web server? So here in the security group, you have inbound rule port 80 is enabled and also port 22 is also enabled. So this is your public IP address. So let us go through this section 4 before the database get created. So copy this web server IP address by selecting this AWS details under the instructions. Okay, open a new browser, paste the IP address. The web server website application will be displayed. I can show you that. So this is your IP address. Here your test page is ready. Your test page is already. Meanwhile, also what you can do is you can just go through this AWS details. You can download your PPK key and interact with the session also. So this is your lab user 3 PPK. So what I do is that I'll just open this PPK, maybe connection, I'll say 30, and also SSH, auth, browse, downloads, the lab 3, just open. EC2 user. Okay. Sudo. You can verify whether it is installed or not. MySQL --version. Yeah, it is showing already. So no need to do any changes. So we have already installed. So once still it is creating, once this is created, we get an endpoint. Okay, what we need to do here is that uh, MySQL minus username is main. Okay, hostname is your endpoint and port is 3306. Once your database is created, just try to refresh in between. Sometimes the database might have created and then we will still creating like this because of the Java console. Let me refresh the status. Yes, it is created and it is available also. Click this lab identifier. Okay, yeah, you can see this is the endpoint. Just copy this endpoint and port is 3306. Please remember. So I copy this. So here in place of endpoint, I just replace with this value. This is the host name actually. The port is 3306. I just copy paste, copy to my instance, logged in. Yeah, it's asking for password. The password is lab hyphen password. Just type over there lab hyphen password. Yeah, you have connected to your SQL instance. You can ask for show database. The initial database, sorry, yes, databases. So the initial database which we have created is lab. So hence you have successfully created your database. That ends your lab on creation of your database. Okay, so, and lab complete. Congratulations, you have completed the lab. Once you complete the lab, what you can do is that you can say just end lab and say end. All the resources gets terminated. Please do remember you need to end the lab before closing all the things. So that finishes off this lab and you can close all your instances which you have created, right? So this turns to red. Thank you very much and bye.